Get money all day, get money all night. Sip my drink, ho, let's get right. Getting paid, I'm getting paid. Roll one up, let's catch this flight. Pour another cup, ho, let's get right. Getting paid, I'm getting paid. Hey, it's your boy Tight. Can't say the Tight without the 1205. Know I'm talking about. But you tuning in with Ray Ray's podcast. Kicking my boy Ray, the toxic mommy Victoria, and my dog G-Ray. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Ray Ray's podcast is pre-recorded at Hello Studios, Dallas, Texas. All productions, including video, editing, and graphics, is done in-house. Photography provided by Perion Mans.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We back. Hello, Twitter world. It's your boy OJ. OJ Simpson here. Boy, that's the funniest intro. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, go watch OJ Simpson's Twitter videos. It's a hilarious thing, all right?
Hello, Twitter world.
Hello, Twitter world. It's OJ.
They still won't verify him.
They still won't verify him.
Hey, Twitter world. Yours truly.
Stab too many people, so I guess that doesn't happen. You can't get to a verification. But, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Ray Ray's podcast again. Today is March 16th, 316 day. Shout out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Man, so glad to be back with another episode. Thank you all for rocking with us. We had our 2-year anniversary, so thank you for everyone that's been supporting us, all of our sponsors and listeners. Thank you so much for 2 years of Ray Ray's podcast. One of my favorite wrestlers was Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon. So rest in peace to Scott Hall. He just passed away on Monday. Condolences to all his family and friends. It was a really big impact on my life. Like, as a kid, I watched WWF and WCW all the time. Monday night, you flip back and forth like, oh, what's going on in WWF? Mm-hmm. What's going on in WCW? So that was a big part of my childhood. So, rest in peace, Scott Hall, and, hope his family, feels peace now. NFL free agency is going on.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to get too much into that right now because I could talk all day about that, but it's been some doozies going on. That's all I can say. Some switcheroos, people making U-turns, but we're not going to call nobody out right now. I was mad. Boy, I was mad.
Yeah, you got DeAndre Jordan 2.0. I guess he didn't like the fact that there's some certain stipulations in there.
From what I gathered of it, it was his agent really didn't want him in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Coincidentally, his agent is the same agent for Lyle Collins.
Yeah. Who
the Cowboys are trying to get rid of. Mm-hmm. Also, who got suspended last year and lost money because of it. Yeah. So, I think that's the agent was like, oh. I think Randy Gregory is a very emotional guy. And I think his agent played off that emotion, like, come on, bro. Come on to Denver. Because he's based in Denver.
Yeah. I think he's from Denver.
Yeah. Again, everyone, make sure you're going to RayRacePodcast.com. Checking out these episodes on YouTube and on our website. Amazing site, amazing videos. Rock, his editing skills are just going through the moon right now. So, just make sure y'all check those out, all right? All right, this is the time of the show where we say some positive words. Get this show started off on the right track. You ready, Ray?
Yes, sir.
You ready? You ready to get loose as a goose right now?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's get the music playing, all right? Y'all know black people got to have music for everything when we do anything. We clean, we talk, we got to have some music in the background to emphasize, all right? So, for those of you who's your first time watching this show, this is the time where, like, if you're having a rough week or rough day, let's kind of reset that day, say these positive words out loud to yourself, and here we go. Just know that you're beautiful, you're loved, you're needed, you're alive for a reason, you're stronger than you think, you're going to get through this, we're glad you're alive, and don't give up. So those are some positive words we want to say to y'all. If you just start saying positive words, a lot of situations turn for the better. You just got to think positively and move forward, and hey, you can do anything, all right? So that's our positive words for the day. We got that out the way. Let's get dirty now. I'm joking. Mom, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry right now. Awesome. So right now, we've got an absolute, in my opinion, an icon and a legend in his business. This guy, got popular in the 70s and 80s, with the long hair and the mustache. He was working for a company, World Class Championship Wrestling, that's based out of Dallas. Anyone wanted to be anyone in the wrestling industry, they had to come through Texas. They had to. Just point blank bottom line, you had to come to Texas because Texas was such a big wrestling place. And I think it still is to a degree. Also, this man owns multiple businesses. He's a true entrepreneur. He's the definition of a hustler, I was about to say. I want y'all to give a big, warm Ray Ray's podcast welcome to someone that's kind of like family to me, extended family, Mr. David Manning. Let's give him a round of applause. What's up, David?
Great. How you doing, Ray?
I'm alive. I'm not dead, so I guess I'm doing pretty good. Could be worse, but hey, thank you for coming in today. I know you're a very, very busy man. Thank you for taking time out to come out, because I know you're high demand. People done seen you on Dark Side of the Ring recently, so such a big show that it is on Vice. So if y'all haven't checked that show out, check out Dark Side of the Ring. You're on several episodes of that, right?
Crazy. Yeah, I'm on 3 the first season, and then the second season they went to the other territories, and then they brought me back the third season for the Ultimate Warrior feature.
Yeah, doing some of those shows, and I know a lot of times there's like some old feelings. Like a lot of those old feelings come back up when you're like sitting there thinking about, like, for instance, perfect example, Gino. I know Gino probably was someone very important to y'all that all cared about. Having to talk about Gino, was that kind of hard doing that?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, especially because, when WrestleMania was here in Dallas, I guess it's been 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, I was over, spent a lot of time with Flair. We're best friends, and so I was over at the hotel where all the boys were. And I think the one biggest difference I saw, I was telling Rick, I said, in our day, thank God, there wasn't all the iPhones with cameras on them, and everybody out there, if they wanted a picture, they had to have a Polaroid or something. Yeah. But now, back then, everybody was family. If something happened with somebody, we were all pulling for them or right in the middle of it or whatever. But you look at today, I was just watching the boys. It was so methodical. It was just like you could just tell it's all turned to business. I'm sure that, like I said, with all the camera stuff, they can't pull the pranks like we used to do.
I've heard some of those ribs, and they used to play on each other.
I can only imagine just, the stuff you used to be able to get away with, and now everyone's got a camera phone. And that's something you always got to worry about.
Everybody's got a camera phone, and all the wives know where everybody's at all the time.
Oh, my God. Hey, I saw you were at such and such at this time and this time. It'll take you 2 minutes to get from there.
I always think about that too. Like if you were a celebrity nowadays, right? Like there's for example, John Cena. I was just seeing a video not too long ago where he was trying to shop at a Gucci store or something like that, and there was this guy that was harassing him. And John Cena with just so much professionalism was just like, hey, listen, brother, man, you could have politely asked me for a picture, but you never did. And he was just being so obnoxious with it. But yeah, I can only imagine, like, it just. Yeah, everyone has a camera phone, right? And everyone just wants a piece of you.
Everybody's got a camera phone, and you say that, almost all the boys pretty much are the same. Yeah. People buy a ticket, right? So they have the right to say whatever they want. I know used to, I would be leaving the arena and going back if it was a match where I just happened to see what happened, didn't happen, and the guy that the babyface got beat. They were all mad at me, so I had to hear it all the way to the car, and they would yell at me. And same thing when all the heels, the birds, and different people would leave the ring. It's just part of the game. But almost any of the boys, I remember one night I left, and I just happened to have my wife, my ex was there at that time, and on the way to the car, some guy, he yelled at me, and all of a sudden he said a few things he shouldn't have said about my other half, and next thing I know, I'd slung him over a car and had him down on the hood. And I said, your ticket allows you to say whatever you want about me. But that's about it. And same thing.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I guarantee you, I saw a Goldberg one time get a little upset over something like that.
Yeah. I remember also another thing, a lot of people used to abide by, a lot of the wrestlers was called kayfabe, right? Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you really don't have people really doing with it. I remember it was like a real big thing. Matter of fact, Scott Hall and those guys, they got in trouble because they all went out in Madison Square Garden, what's called the infamous curtain call. They hugged each other. It was your heels, which are your bad guys, and your faces, which are your good guys. They came together and hugged, and that was like a no-no in the business.
I'll tell you how strong of a no-no it was. At the Sportatorium, when you walked in the sportatorium, when you came in the entrance, you come in this little hallway, and then if you're one of the wrestlers, then you went through this door, and on the left there was these almost like saloon doors that go back and forth, and then that's where the baby faces or the heels would dress, and no one ever got back there. So, and for those out there that don't know, the word kayfabe meant if there was somebody in the room that didn't understand wrestling or know that, pretty much it's fixed, you would say kayfabe, and then everybody would stay apart. But I come walking through the door one night. We had a wrestler named the Monk that wrestled for a while, and as I'm coming through, the Monk comes flying through those saloon-like doors, hits the wall. I can already see someone's hit him because he's bleeding, and then Killer Brooks comes through the door, picks him up, smacks him again, and what had happened was the Monk was talking to Brooks's brother-in-law and smartened him up. So that just tells you, Brooks, this was his inner family. He had not even told any of them. But the fact that the Monk had made a statement to more or less say it was kind of fixed or whatever, Brooks was sending a message to him, keep your mouth shut, or the next time I won't be so lenient on you.
All right, I know you got plenty of those stories, but first, we want to get to know you, get to know David Manning, the man himself. So we got this segment on the show, it's called
Slow down, I just want to get to know you.
Slow Down, we just want to get to know you. This is where I just kind of ask you some random questions. Really nothing about nothing, just some random questions. Just kind of get your mind and, see more about you, all right? So, again, let's remind the people, tell the people who you are and what it is that you do and where they can find you at.
My name is David Manning. I own a company called XStream Travel, and it's spelt like X and a running stream, XStream. And we're a travel agent host company. We book travel, but we're mainly a travel agent host company. So we have travel agents from all over the United States and other parts of the world. We furnish them websites, and we furnish them their booking engines, and they utilize our buying power. We sold over $180 million in travel back in 2019. Now, 2020 was a different world. But we also have Extreme Travel University, where if someone out there wants to be a travel agent, and I highly suggest, even if you aren't serious about being full-time, it's a great way to get travel perks, and it's a great way to be able to handle your own stuff. And so I've been doing that now since the year 2000. Had a big network marketing company, and I sold it about 2 years ago. And it's hard enough to run one company, much less two. So, so that's pretty much it. I play a lot of golf and do a lot of fishing.
Okay. So if someone wants to sign up for Extreme Travel, where can they go do that at?
They can go to extremetravel.com. As I say, it's XSTRAM travel.com. There's some links on there where if you had any questions, you can click on them, and someone there in the corporate office will get back with you within 24 hours. But right now, anybody who's listening to Ray Ray's podcast, we're going to give them a $200 discount. It's normally $299, and they can get joined up with us for $99.
Okay. Hey, y'all hear that right there? Y'all go to Extreme Travel. Great way if you want to book a vacation for yourself, sign up to become an agent, get them discounts, and do it. Extremetravel.com with the X, extremetravel.com. Do that. $99, $200 off. Do that now, all right?
Well, not only that, let me just tell you the best thing. Well, let's say you don't want to be a travel agent. Anyone out there that refers us a group, like maybe a church group, family reunion, maybe 6 or 8 people is going to do a destination wedding. You refer that over to Extreme. You don't do anything. We take it from there. If they take the trip, commission comes in, we send you 25% of it.
Nice.
Hey, y'all want free money? You want free money? Sign up. Hey, I'm going to do that as soon as we get off the show. Hey, where's my phone? Right now. All right, cool. So, David, where are you from?
I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, moved to Irving, Texas the week President Kennedy got shot. I was in 3rd grade. And I've lived here, moved out to Paris, Texas, back in the early 80s, kind of get my kids out of the city at that time. And then it was too long of a drive commuting back and forth, so I ended up moving back. But pretty much been here all my life.
I used to run up and gun over there in Paris, Como, Cumbie, Sulphur Springs.
Yep.
I used to tear them roads up. I had some friends I used to be friends with, and we just, I ain't gonna say any stories, but just leave it at that. We used to tear up some of them back roads, just leave it at that. All right, so from Fort Worth, Texas, and you touched on you had moved the day JFK got shot.
The weekend,
The
yeah.
weekend he got shot. What was that experience like?
It was crazy because my mom didn't know her way around Dallas, but the president's in town. Literally, we went to Fort Worth the day before. He was in Fort Worth. A lot of people don't know that. He did the same tour like in Fort Worth, and we got a chance to go see the limo go by and all of that. Well, then the next day I was in school, and man, all of a sudden all the teachers were running everywhere. And back then, you know, sometimes they'd bring a TV in, and so it was a big thing. So they had TVs there already, and then all of a sudden the word was out, you know, that they were on the way to Parkland Hospital, and the president had been shot, and it was literally chaos for 24 hours. And what was crazy was a lot of the radio stations that weren't like news stations turned into news stations. It'd be like you guys doing a podcast, and all of a sudden the president gets shot. Guess what you're shifting to?
Yeah, the president.
Yeah. So it was it was unique, you know. And over the years, as I travel around the world and stuff, two things people will always bring up: South Fork,
Dallas.
J.R. Huey,
Yeah, J.R.
and that's where Kennedy got shot.
Did you ever see that they tried to make a remake of Dallas? Like recently, they had what was the guy name?
Duffy.
Duffy
Came back.
came back to be. Was it Jr. when he came?
No,
back?
no. He came back as Patrick. He came back as Bobby Ewing.
Okay.
And Jr. at that point, it was crazy. Jr. was going to be in it, but he died literally right before they started shooting. And I watched it because I was such a big fan. That was one of the only shows I would VCR back in the day, and I would VCR it, you know, and watch it, and it was crazy. We actually did some stuff with them, you know, because they got really popular here in town.
Yeah, because I remember, you know, around the time in Dallas, you had a lot of things going on. Of course, y'all had the wrestling. You had Dallas, a TV show. SMU in the early '80s, before they got the death sentence, was really popular.
Eric Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson. It was Craig Davis.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Craig James. I apologize.
Craig James.
Craig James. A lot of big. SMU was doing some dirty stuff, quote unquote, which is everyone was doing that, but SMU just got caught. They just got caught. They were sloppy about it, didn't care. But you know, there was a big time in Texas.
I think Eric Dickerson said he made more at SMU than the NFL. He took a pay cut. He took a pay cut to go to the NFL.
What was always the thing? Was it the Champagne Thunderbird or Firebird he had, or he had got A&M at bottom or something? A&M turned A&M down, but they couldn't get the car back. But all right. So, what is the best advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh wow! The best advice I'd give to my younger self would be slow down, put the money in the bank, party maybe one night a week. And, you know, get right with Jesus early.
Hey, that's a good one. We all need to get that one right. Okay, what is something that people seem to misunderstand about you, David?
Probably the biggest misunderstanding was a lot of people think I was just a referee in the ring. And when literally I ran world-class championship wrestling, I was Fritz von Erich's right-hand man. It's crazy how I got in the business. I'm one of those that believes everything happens through fate. And that's exactly how I got into wrestling. I was coaching. I did some things as an amateur wrestler that can never be done again, because when I wrestled in junior high and high school, the UIL had not accepted it yet. So there was really no strap down rules. So when I was an 8th grader, I literally challenged for the high school wrestling team to go to state, and I beat the varsity guy that was going to represent MacArthur High School. So I went to state as a high school wrestler as an 8th grader in one state, and which that can never be done again.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And was also a 5-time state finalist, which can never happen again because you're only allowed 4 years.
Yeah.
So
She held back a year.
But so, you know, and then so when I started coaching, there wasn't a lot of guys in the area that knew a lot about wrestling, truthfully. So I would go to Oklahoma and Kansas to get competition. So whenever I started coaching down at the Y, I was doing it for free and just giving my time. And one day we went up to North Texas and we did a tournament up there. And my team was the best. I'm not, because I know for a fact they had the best coach at that time. Mm-hmm. And one of my kids was wrestling the kid up there and beat him. And the other kid had some potential. And so after the match, I just kind of went over and said, hey, look, when you're doing a switch, do it this way. And just gave him some pointers. That was it. Mm-hmm. Later on, I went to the concession stand and went to get something. And they gave me a sandwich and a drink. And they were like, it's on the house. And I was like, what? Yeah, compliments of Fritz von Erich. I said, Fritz von Erich's here? Because I was a wrestling fan. Yeah. And they were like, well, he was. And he said, if you came up here and bought anything, it was on him. Mm. So about a week went by, and a guy named Jack Nelson called me, and he said, hey, Jack Atkinson's trying to get a hold of you. I said, who's Jack Atkinson? He said, Fritz von Erich. I said, wow. He said, you want me to give him your number? And I said, yeah. So I get a call a couple of nights later from Fritz, and he's like, hey, I want you to come up here to my house. I want to talk to you. So I went up there. He lived on Fritz Lane in Lake Dallas, and we went in his office, and a very intimidating guy. And he said, man, I've been doing some due diligence on you. You're a pretty good wrestler. I said, thank you. He said, I want you to coach my boys. And he said, you remember a boy you helped here in the tournament that was here about a month ago? And I was like, no. And he yelled out, Kerry. Turns out the kid I helped was Kerry von Erich.
No.
You know, that's what he became. At that time, he was Kerry Atkinson. And so Fritz, from there, all of a sudden I was helping coach him, and then he was like, why don't you come down, I'll let you be a second. Then one night he came in and said, I'm going to let you referee a match next week. We're going to promote you as the youngest referee in history. And because back then all the referees were retired wrestlers.
Yeah.
And then from there, next thing you know, I got invited to a booking meeting, first booking meeting. It was crazy because Fritz laid out a angle they were going to do. And I'll never forget, Bronco was in the room. Gary Hart was in the room. Danny Pletchis was in the room. And I was just sitting over a chair on the side. And so he asked, Bronco said, what do you think? Bronco said, I like it. He asked Pletch. Pletch said, I like it. He asked Gary. Gary said, I like it. And all of a sudden out of the blue, he looked at me and said, what do you think? I said, I don't like it. And he said, well, first of all, you're fired. Now tell me why you don't like it. So I told him, and he said, he always had 1 or 2 cigarettes going.
Oh, wow.
So he's puffing, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what, kid's right. So he changed it. So when we went to leave, he said, you stay here. They all left. He said, I could have said I was going to go out there and take a big crap in the ring, and they'd all said they had liked it. And he said, I want you to every booking meeting from this day forward. I want you to be just as honest as you were today. Wow. A year later, I was his right-hand guy, and I was that for the next 12 years.
No yes man. You know, people, yes man. That's a problem with some of these celebrities, and why they go broke, and some of these athletes and people will just hype it up. Yeah, you can do that. Go buy this. MC Hammer, perfect example. Had the wrong people in this corner. Yeah, bro, go get another car. Like, no, they didn't have the right people, because a lot of times you have people that are around you are looking out for themselves. They're gonna say whatever they can say to get to the next level with you. Because if you're going to the next level, yeah, I'm going to say whatever's happening you like, yeah, I'm going to say I like it because I want you to take me with you. You can't have people like that around you. You will never go anywhere. And actually, one of my people like that in the building right now, my boy Austin. Shout out Oz. What's up, everybody? Austin's in the building. He's on XtremeTravel.com too, so hit up Austin.
He's probably going to be the one that calls them back. since they're calling in referencing Ray Ray.
Yeah.
But, you know, you hit something right on the head, you know, about people. I do a lot of motivational speaking. And the first thing I say is 95% of all people are followers. So that means they're a yes man, right? And I always use sheep as an example. I say, you ever see sheep, you know, eating in a field, and all of a sudden one sheep rears his head up and starts looking around. The rest of the sheep just eating, and all of a sudden he'll look around again, and all of a sudden he takes off. Well, guess what?
Everyone else
all the other sheep like, where the hell is he going? I'm going with him. And they all take off. And that's the only difference between being a leader and a follower is you step over to the 5% side. And it's a lot more fun over here, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So as you're saying this to people, I love the way you did the introductions in the beginning. People can be whoever they want to be. You don't have to be a yes man.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, I'm thankful for the people I have in my life. They're like, yo, you know you're fucking up, bro. Because they will straight tell me, like, you're fucking up right now.
Yep.
And you got to have people like that, because if no one doesn't love you, they won't tell you where you're making mistakes. Period.
Right.
I want to talk about, you know, the wrestling career a little bit. Then we're going to talk about, you know, the ins and outs of extreme travel. So you became Fritz's right-hand man, okay? So I know you've had to see a lot of things. I know you've had a lot of big-name people had to come through that territory. Like some of the people, like, oh, let's say Stone Cold Steve Austin was someone that came through the territory. Of course, the Von Erichs.
Jim Duggan.
Ultimate Warrior. I think Sting, he was the Dingo Warriors or whatever, something like that.
Well, he was at that time they were called the Blade Runners,
yeah.
and they were partners. The Sting left when they split up. He went to Atlanta. Jim Hellwood came here, and we changed his name to the Dingo Warrior.
Who else we had? You had gentleman Chris Adams.
You had gentleman Chris Adams, King Kong Bundy, Jake the Snake, Ravishing Rick Rude. These are all guys that went on up, you know, and went to Vince. And then Stone Cold, when he was here, he broke in here. He actually trained through Chris Adams' camp. And he was teamed up here with Jack Victory. And when I became the booker, actually, Jack came in and told me they were looking for a spot that I said, I think you'd be better off instead of staying here going up to Atlanta. And he got with Steve, and they got a gig up there. And, Steve just always, his voice was what truthfully made him in the beginning. He was a great wrestler, period. He just came natural. But his voice was just, you just don't find it, And Steve knew he could be whatever he wanted to be in the industry, and he just didn't stop. He went from there. Then the Vince got a hold of him, and the rest is history.
I mean, I think it really just like kind of turned the corner for him. He got frustrated with WCW, then he went to ECW and just raised absolute hell like he does, and just started going off. And people was like, "Oh, this guy can talk." What they call he was a talker. He was a stick man. Some people call it guys that cut really good promos. To this day, matter of fact, he just did one a week or two ago for WrestleMania. I guess he's coming out of retirement for something here at WrestleMania. But it is crazy to see him with blonde hair. He's got long blonde hair, and now he's just a bald-headed guy.
Yeah, and he comes across just as a good old boy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really, we always said with wrestling, it didn't matter what time of the year it was. Even back in the Depression, wrestling was still going.
Yeah.
And because it was a way for people to escape. They had the good and the bad. Okay, and they came and rooted for the good, And so Fritz used to tell me back in the Depression, man, the people didn't have a buck, but they lowered the price enough that people could come to wrestling on the weekends and they'd pack it out.
Yeah, man, it's just one of those things. It's just to this day how big wrestling has become, and like I know people call it the golden era, like in the '80s, late '70s and '80s, where you just had a boom when you had all your different territories. So, what is your thought about the territories? Do you think the territories should still be around, or what are your thoughts of the way the modern day wrestling is run today?
Well, and a lot of people don't understand that. Back whenever we were all part of the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, and Fritz had the Southwest, Bill Watts had Oklahoma and New Orleans, that area, and then you had like Vern Gagne up in Chicago, and you had Mike LaBelle in California, and Harley Race and Bob Stieg. Bob Stiegel had Kansas City. So you had all these different promoters. And what happened was we were the first because of Channel 11. It was a superstation. Mm-hmm. So our tape started reaching out. You didn't really have anything until Ted Turner come along. And people don't know it. In the beginning, he paid you to have his station. A dime. Paid you 10 cents if you'd carry his station and watch it on TV. And so he became the next superstation. And then it also kind of created a conflict in the industry, because what happened was, used to, if you were going, let's say you were wrestling for us here and you were going to go up to Atlanta, they didn't see you. They didn't see your finishes. So at the end, we'd let certain people beat you or whatever, and you didn't care. When TV started getting strong, people were, well, I don't know. I'm fixing to go up here and try to be a superstar in Atlanta. I don't want to see them getting my ass kicked. So it did create some problems. But I love the territories, and I love going to the NWA convention. It was great to see all the owners come together. It probably like the NFL now, But it was. I'm actually. It's crazy. I never thought I'd be looking at the wrestling business again, but I've got some guys now come to me that have some gigantic money, wanting to know would I run one more time, and that was my thing. I said, I'll probably bring back the territories.
Okay. I mean, that'd be good, because here's another question too I got. But a lot of those territories, a lot of the promoters and the people that ran it were also wrestlers. Was that politics always kind of an issue? We're like, okay, like for instance, I know Gagne ran his territory and he was champ. I know him and Bockwinkel would go at it. I remember Gagne was like, well, if the pop is good, I'm going to go one more run. Whoop-de-whoop. Was there a lot of that issue? Like another guy, Jerry Lawler, down in Memphis. I think he was the booker down there and promoter, but he was also their star wrestler. Did a lot of the guys like, hey, because you're the booker, you're going to make yourself look strong? Was there a lot of that issues going on?
Yeah, well, it was only natural because you were there longer. The bigger you were as a draw, the longer you were going to stay as a booker, or if you were the owner. That was one of the problems we had here, because we just didn't have one Von Erich.
You had multiple.
We had multiple on it. We had 3. Whenever Kevin, David, and Kerry were all strong, it was hard for another babyface to come in here because there's only so many rooms for the main events.
Yeah.
You know, and wrestlers are funny. You have a lot of wrestlers that come in and they'll say, back when I was booking, if I was negotiating a deal, okay, yeah, I'll come in, but I want this much money, X amount. Okay, don't care when they wrestle, what semifinal, opening match, they don't care. But then you get some guys, you don't really have to offer them money. They just want to be the semifinal or main event, which I know immediately that's ego.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm not going to be the opening match, the second match. Well, some guys could care less.
Yeah.
Just put the commas in my check. And so that was when you traveled around the country, and that's what kept the local baby faces. So Dusty Rhodes, a great example up in Florida. You know, he was in with the owners and the Funks, and so he was going to be. They're always going to be the local draw. Mm-hmm. But best thing that can happen is if the owner's a heel. See, Fritz was a heel. Because now you can bring all the top baby faces in, and they want you to. They're constantly, Fritz. It was hard for Fritz when the boys came along. If he would go with them, some areas, they didn't forget who Fritz Von Erich was. You know what I mean? They remember him putting iron claw on whoever their star was, and beating the shit out of him when he would come to town.
So you talked about possibly getting back into wrestling again, all right? So is there any mistakes that were done your first go around that you would make sure you would correct the second go around?
Definitely, because I think right now, and truthfully, I haven't looked at wrestling. I used to say it almost turned into me to Barnum and Bailey, and respect for all the boys. They had nothing to do with it, but people used to hate to come to Texas to wrestle because you better get hard, or you're going to get the hell beat out of you.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just what we were known for in Texas. We didn't pull punches. So when you went out and fought, you're going to have, whether it would be 5 minutes or 20 minutes of fighting.
Yeah.
And we did the strap matches, you remember. I mean, oh my God.
Bruiser Brody and those guys, yeah.
So it was a lot of areas you'd go to, and it would be just the opposite. I couldn't stand it, especially when you talk kayfabe. Mm-hmm. Seeing a guy that throws a punch and it misses 3 inches, and the other guy falls on his back and like he's knocked him out. Fans aren't stupid.
Yeah.
And that's why we were so strong. So what I do, the biggest thing I would do different right now is, and I got to be careful here because I don't want to give away my deal. We had so many celebrities out there that wanted to be there by ringside and stuff like that. That my plan is I'm gonna tie some of them in.
Okay.
Like Snoop Dogg when he got into that
Exactly.
race.
Bro, that was the one.
He knows that's one of the ones I'm reaching out to.
That dive he tried to do. So Snoop Dogg tried to do a dive off the top rope. So he jumped on his feet, then jumped on it. It was the most. Make sure you put that video clip in this because, oh my Lord.
Well, I saw a guy yesterday. He must have weighed 300 pounds, climb up on top rope, and he was going to dive. Well, the guy was too far across the ring. He missed him totally, but he just put his arm on him, and they counted him out. I'm like, okay. He hit the ring. Another guy bounced up 3 foot.
Oh man, I see now Bad Bunny. He's been on there a couple times.
Bad Bunny's actually have an issue with that, but I mean, some of the stuff is entertaining, but you don't have to have a whole freaking match where this guy's jumping over here, I'm jumping over here, I'm jumping over here.
Well, not only that, it's too gimmicky. Yeah. And when I say that, we had such a long run because I learned from the best. I learned from Gary Hart. When I first went in, when I would sit in the booking meetings, Gary Hart was a booker. Very smart. Then I learned under Ken Mantell when he came in. George, oh God, what's his name? Can't think of it now. He came down from Atlanta, was the booker for a while. So I got a chance to see all these guys, plus Fritz.
Yeah. I
sat in on every booking meeting and got to, hear all of his mind and how he ticked. And I always had a real blessing for coming up with finishes. Mm-hmm. I came up with the steel cage on Kerry's head, and and so I would come up with a finish, and then we'd all tweak it. Mm-hmm. Or if we were at the matches, Ken was a good booker, but he wasn't a good finish guy, so he would say, Dave, come up with a finish for this. But wrestling is, it's almost like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You start here, and you got to plan out for, let's say, 6 months. This is when the blow-up's going to be. Mm-hmm. So we start out, and we start going. Well, about 2 months into it, you got to start the next one, because when this one ends, that one's going to kick on, and you got to keep doing that. So But what I see happening now is so many guys that think they can be a booker. Well, this week they got a steel cage, Texas death, and then next weekend they got barbed wire and bombs, and the next week they got, you can't continue to follow that. You do what we call burn up the town.
Yeah.
How you gonna follow it?
Yeah.
You know, those are special gimmicks you do once a year.
So how do you top the next thing?
Yeah, the steel cage match.
Yeah.
Think about us. We did that maybe once a year.
Yeah.
The Texas death match in a steel cage. Where now you got to where you saw them every weekend somewhere. And not only that, we used to have a rule. If you were in the first 3 to 4 matches, don't get out of the ring. Okay? You have your match, you have it in the ring, to where now, hell, you get the first match in there. They're out slinging chairs, and I see them up on the top of the rafters. And
Yeah.
that's not the main event. That's not what they came to see, you know?
Yeah.
Save that stuff.
So there's kind of the importance for one, you had the time limits. Well, this match is a 15-minute time limit. I saw a lot of other things, but also another question is, how did you go about not having the same finish over and over, trying to come up with a new finish all the time? Because you can only have so many matches in a DQ, or so many times the heel is not going, all right, I want to lose this time. Like, how did you keep it fresh?
Well, you could have 100 DQs,
Yeah.
but you need a different reason for the DQ.
Yeah.
And that's where I had a pretty good act for, you know, what was going on. Because there were some guys you had to DQ because they weren't going to let you pin them.
Yeah.
You know, a great example was Andre.
Yeah.
Okay, you come up with a finish. That's why Andre got $1 million when Hulk Hogan pinned him. Because if he didn't get to $1 million, Hulk ain't nobody pinning Andre the Giant if he don't want to be pinned. That's a fact. But it's I think it pretty much just goes back to that, you know, that you got to have the boys get along, and then you just got to come up with a finish, and it's got to be something the fans can believe.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got to be two-way. You can't sometimes the heels. Jim Hellwig was the hardest. Ultimate Warrior, man, he just didn't want to do business.
Man, I heard a lot of stories.
He just didn't want to do business, and he didn't understand. Jeep Swenson. Here's Jeep, you know, 94-inch chest, 28-inch biceps, monster. Mm-hmm. Well, in his mind, no one could beat him. And I'll never forget we were in Israel, and I had Brody against Abdullah the Butcher, and I had Jeep against Lance Von Erich. Mm-hmm. So I was going to do a DQ with Brody, and I was going to have Lance beat Jeep. Mm-hmm. But we're in Israel. There's no TV. Well, Jeep didn't want to do the job. He's like, oh, no, we'll do a DQ. I said, I'm already doing a DQ. So I said, all right, we'll DQ your match. I'll go get Brody and them. So I go back over to the other babyface. Brody putting his boots on. And I said, we're going to have to change it. Jeep doesn't want to do the job. And Brody was like, what? He just stands up, and here he goes marching out towards the other dressing room. I'm like, uh-oh. So Brody goes in the other dressing room, and he looks at Jeep and says, let me make something clear. You're going to go in the ring tonight. When it's time, you're going to put your shoulders down, and Lance is going to beat you 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, we're going to change the matches, yeah. But Lance is going to wrestle the Butcher. I'm going to wrestle you, and I guarantee your ass and your shoulders are going down for 1, 2, 3. Chief said, no problem, whatever y'all want to do.
For those of you who don't know who Brody is, you gotta look at Brody. Like, this guy was bloodied every time. Bruiser Brody was a legend. It's terrible what happened down there in Puerto Rico. It's crazy.
He's working for me then, you know.
That was just sad, and just sad.
So we had a conversation not too long ago about you kind of touched on the fact that you got stories for storyboards or whatever, right? What happened? Like, there's been situations where some of these wrestlers like live decide to go their own route. What's going on in your mind during that, and you're watching this?
It's called shoot, right? They decide to shoot.
The shoot.
Yeah.
The shoot, and then like what happens? Like, I just kind of like what happens at that point?
It could be, people ask me sometimes who was the toughest wrestler, and most people wouldn't believe it. It was probably the Iron Sheik. He didn't look it,
Yeah.
but the guy came from Iran, and they used to do a thing there called the pit. Mm-hmm. They'd put all of them would put up their money and go into the pit, and the last one out got all the money. He won it numerous times. Iranian champion, Olympics. One night I was refereeing, and he wore these boots with these curly toes on them. And so he'd kick you, and you'd sell that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I could tell something had gone wrong. He was all of a sudden beating shit out of that guy. And so I pushed him back, and I'm like, Khosrow, what, you know, he's like, he don't sell the boot. And I'm trying to calm him down, and next thing I know, he's got the guy again. And so we got to the dressing room. I said, you can't do that. He said, he knows sell the boot tell me, Khosrow, he knows sell me. He ignored me. So he have to understand, when the boot tell me that, he paid the price. And Brody, that's what got Brody killed, because they owed him about 25 grand. And when he went there, he was working for me then. And I had broke away from, you know, WCCW and had my own deal. And I was mainly doing the Caribbean and stuff. And he told me, he said, I'm coming back with my money. I said, man, remember, you're in their playground, because that part of the Cologne and them was known for mafia.
Yeah.
And Brody went down there, and the guy that was the booker, he was booked with him the first night, and I mean, beat the crap out of him. I mean, beat him to a pulp. And told him to send the message back, tell Cologne to have my money or he's next. And it was the next night that they stabbed him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing that story on, I think, Dark Side of the Ring. They did it.
Yeah.
And I remember Tony Atlas was like, yo, what are y'all doing? And I think Tony was the one that got him to the hospital, right?
Yeah. The butcher was there, and they told all the boys, they came back for the court, they would never leave the island if any of them showed up to testify. And they meant it. But they, the other shoot, believe it or not, was with Sunshine. And when she broke away from Jimmy Garvin, she was kind of like family. Well, Precious was his wife.
Yeah.
And they got into it, and twice. So Sunshine moved over to Chris Adams. Man, we did a cage match in Lawton, and I was worried. I was telling the referee, Rick Hazard, I was like, you got to keep them apart, because I knew it was going to go down. Because Sunshine had already said, I'm not taking her shit, and vice versa. So you're talking about a cat fight. And then Jimmy, he would get involved because he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And we actually literally, when they all came, I couldn't even put Sunshine in the dressing room. I had to put her in a hotel across the street. Because the two of them, I knew once they got in the ring, and sure enough, man, when they got in the ring, it was a cat fight.
Okay. So let's talk about, you transitioned out of wrestling, and you've got multiple businesses you've done. So talk to us, what was the first business you had when you got done with wrestling?
Believe it or not, I got involved in a nutritional company, network marketing company. Over the years, I'd always had people approach me, I can show you how to make millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. So they got me in a company that had, I actually started out taking the product, and I liked it because I was working out and stuff. And so they had an energy product. They had it was crazy because Ken Mantell, the other booker, got me the product. So he got me this, I ordered this big deal. So I had all this energy product and weight loss product, and I had a big gallon jug of vitamin. I just set it on my table, right? And someone tore down our mailbox. So the police came out, and the policeman, I'll never forget, he came out, I lived in South Lake. He came out and came in, and all of a sudden he's like, what's that? I said, well, let's see, that one gives you energy, that one does this, and that one does that. And he's like, oh man, we could use some energy, I have the night shift. So I had promised Ken I would give it out as samples. Well, I gave the guy all of it.
Uh-huh.
All of it.
All of it.
Just get it out. I'd fulfilled my obligation. About a week later, I never forget, I was having a dinner, and all of a sudden somebody rang the door, and I go, and here's this cop standing there, and he's like, hey, I need some more of that stuff. I said, what stuff? The energy, and the judge took the vitamin, and this and that. And so I called Ken. I said, okay, Ken, I can do this. And from there, I got involved, and I become a networker, and all of a sudden I saw truck drivers and stuff making a lot of money. I'm talking about big money, millions. And I was like, okay, now if they can do this. And I had a following anyway. I could fill up a room. And then I just really attached myself, and like you say, I just become listening to the guys out there that were on the leadership side and listening to their trainings. And I would just I didn't even tell their jokes. I just duplicated. And then that company, the guy that was above me, it was multi-level. He left and started his own company. He called me and said, you want to be one of my first guys? And I went from getting my check up around $4,000, all of a sudden I was making about 30 grand a month.
Okay.
In like 3 months, and life changed.
Yeah.
And from there, I became a consultant in the industry, started my own company, and just been very, very successful at it. And probably, believe it or not, wrestling got me lead into the Easter Seals. I was the host of Easter Seals for like 12 straight years.
I went to Easter Seals as a kid.
Yeah, I was the host. They would move from different, it's funny, they'd go to different stations. Like if they were at Channel 5, all of a sudden Scott Murray would be on this, that. If they moved over to Channel 8, you had Dale Hansen and all of them on. But I stayed on because they preempted every show. It was 24 hours, you know. They preempted every show except wrestling. They didn't want to preempt wrestling because the numbers were so big.
Yeah.
So they said have someone come down and throw it back and forth to Easter Seals to the matches. I did that. And they loved the enthusiasm, so they asked me to come back and work in the phone banks. And then 2 years later, I was the host, and I was the host for the next 12 years.
That's awesome.
And I got more intro into speaking engagements and stuff from Easter Seals than anything.
Yeah. Because I remember as a child, my mom used to have to take me, where was that? I can't remember where the building was at. All the different programs they had.
Over in Dallas, yeah, it was down there, yeah.
Okay, so for that, then I think it's around 2000, you bought a travel company. Let's talk to us about that.
Yeah, one of my buddies was a guy named David Kelly. He owned a travel company called Travel Works. And it was out in Euless, and we played golf a couple times a week. So we were all playing golf, and that morning I kept hearing him on the phone talking to his agents, and he would say, "Are you working from home today, or are you at the office?" So after about the third call, I said, "What do you mean working from home?" He said, "Well, with the new technology now, with Sabre and everything, they can work from home just as easy as coming in." Well, light bulb went off, and I said, "You need to let me handle that side of the business. I'll bring in travel agents. We'll train them to be travel agents. They can work from home." He wasn't a big fan, but he had huge connection in the industry. He introduced me to a company called Travel Sabers. I flew to New York, met with them, told them what I wanted to do. So I went back, and I said, "Look, I'll run that half, you run the other half, and I'll give you this much of a piece of my half." A year later, I bought him out. And his agency was about 15 years old, and I started creating home-based travel agents. And I used it through network marketing, and we created 30,000 of them in about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And we were doing so much travel volume, it was crazy. And then we were also, I had guys making, 30,000 a month through the networking side. So we were the talk of the industry, and we would go to resorts and take 2,000 people with us. We'd invite them all down So from there, I split the companies off and created Extreme Travel, because there was a lot of corporations out there or a lot of groups that wouldn't do business with me because it was multi-level. Mm-hmm. So I split them to where Extreme Travel was never a multi-level. And then I broke the network off. And about 2 years ago, I sold the network off, and now I just have Extreme Travel.
Because like I personally say, we've gone on trips. Shout out to Austin again. We always book like a friends trip every year. This year, we're going to Jamaica. So if you want to go to Jamaica, we may have some spots available for you. ExtremeTravel.com. Hit us up. Use that discount code. Get a discount on your, your fare. But like I said, we're going to Jamaica this year. So I know pandemic, that had to change business up. How did y'all make it through the pandemic?
Refunded 4,026 trips.
How many?
4,026. It was a nightmare. And what happened was, all of the companies out there, like FunJet, Apple, their departments that handled refunds was about 2 people. And all of a sudden, literally, you got the cruise industry especially. All of a sudden, millions of people had to be refunded. Well, at first they tried not to refund. They'd just say, "Okay, you still get your trip, but we're going to move it 8 months."
I remember them saying that. Yeah.
And then people would get mad at us because I can't go then. I want my money back. Yeah. Well, cruise line we're not giving the money back. We're moving the trip.
Yeah.
And Austin and the ones that booked travel, they had hell for months because the people just didn't believe that. Yeah. And then I think it finally come around because we just started to have people call over. I'll give you a great example was Apple Vacation. Their refund department went from 2 to 120. Working nonstop, just trying to follow up and move trips. And finally they got to where they just started refunding the money. They had to. Yeah. Because 8 months later, we weren't any better. Yeah. So now they're going to try to move it again, and people just weren't having it. But it was a nightmare. We went from selling, like I say, $180 million worth of travel to losing, refunding. Yeah. But now travel's back. Yeah. It's back, and it's going to get, I think, from now to the end of the year and through 2023 will be the biggest year for booking travel because a lot of people sat on their butts. They were almost imprisoned to their house, How many times you heard someone say, I don't know where I'm going, but I am going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them now are taking we're seeing people take more high-end trips.
Yeah.
Because one, they've saved up for 2 years, they hadn't had a vacation. And so now you get some of them going to Tahiti or going to the Maltese or, taking that Alaska cruise. And man, we're here for them. One thing is we have the best pricing out there. That's a fact.
That is, I totally agree with that because the rate we're getting for the Jamaica trip, I was like, what? For 5 nights all inclusive, that much? It's a steal. But it's just the airline tickets, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember one time we went to look at our tickets one day. They were like $600. I think it was like a week or two later. They were like almost $900. Like, wait, how did they jump up like within like 2 weeks?
Well, fuel's going to drive that. It's going to be even worse because fuel, that gives them an excuse to raise prices. But we have we call it XTVIP, Extreme Travel VIP, and it's a club. Now a lot of people that don't want to be a travel agent, they should call and get in the club. Because one, we give you a book. Everybody who now goes to Expedia, Travelocity, Orbitz, Kayak, they think they're getting the best price. That's public pricing. We give them wholesale pricing because they're a member. And we've beat sometimes, let's say, Expedia or Travelocity by $2,000 and $3,000 on a week stay. That's real wholesale.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we can't show those prices to the public. We can only show it to our members. But we also have daily savings, and we do trips like you guys going to Jamaica. Mm-hmm. We do at least 2 or 3 of those a year, and we invite everybody to go, and we just party down.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lot of partying going down. We've been running and gunning for this last couple of years. So especially 2020, I remember nothing was open, and finally there was a bar started open. And me and Austin was like, "Are we going to go drink? Going to go drink." So now every Wednesday, if you see me and Austin out, come have a drink with us. Normally we're at 2 spots. We normally be at.
I may have to come with you. When I came in the door, I was on the phone with Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And you heard him.
Yeah.
He's coming to town for WrestleMania, so he's telling me, get ready. We're going to be at the Hyatt for 3 nights, so I better start training now because
get some practice. Come hang out with us. Hang out with us, Ruben. We all get you ready. We'll get your work in. You gotta take reps. Get those reps in. Real quick, I want to shout out Nathan. Thank you, Nathan, for coming in. He's helping us filling out doing photography today. P couldn't be with us today. What did you want people to take away from this podcast you did today? And again, reminding people where they can find you at.
You can take away that I do a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of appearances, and this has been fun. It's been real. I love that when it's real. And, I've got to know Ray, and now I know the other Ray over the years. And I think, if nothing else, just keep tuning in. No telling who. I'm gonna refer some people over he may want to put on here.
Let's do it.
But I just say, take away, you guys. You can do anything you want to do. They said it earlier. I'd love to. I'm going to be speaking. I'm the keynote speaker out at Travel Savers big event this year. And I got some things planned for wrestling, so you may start seeing me pop up on Facebook. And I don't even know what, Billy, this is how old I am, man. People still follow me on Twitter, and I don't know what they're following because I don't do nothing on there. But I keep
tweet. Hello, Twitter world. Now with OJ and OJ Simpson.
So anyway, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always a lot of fun for me to talk the old days.
Man, I love it. I hope you come back. I know because you got a lot more stories I know you could dive into, but really, I want to really get into know about David today. Then later date, we can talk about some of these crazy stories. Actually, let's talk about some of the stuff off the air. Get drunk and just go out and have some fun. But thank you to everyone that's tuned into this episode. WrestleCon, are you doing WrestleCon? What's up?
Well, they've reached out to me, and I didn't take it. That's what I was talking to Flair about. I saw he was coming, so I sent it out and said, what do you think? Should I? Because I've turned him down a couple times, and I may go this time. I was looking at the list. A lot of stars going to be there, so we'll see. He's supposed to send me a number today. He wants me to call. I told him one of the things I would say besides getting paid would be set me and Rick together, because at least that way we can reminisce for while we're there all day. We have some good times when we're together.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you to everyone that's watching and listening to this. Rock, you got anything for the people you want to say?
No, just thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us. Always visit our website, RayRacePodcast.com. Check out our YouTube page, Ray Race Podcast. We guys, thank you so much to all the listeners, all the subscribers, and all the different people out there. So thank you so much. We got some merchandise coming soon. So stay tuned for all these new updates that we'll have. But other than that,
man, you sound like an infomercial over there.
Man, I'm practicing.
But wait, if you call now, we'll send you an extra one. It's $19.99 plus shipping and handling.
Yes.
But thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is your boy Ray.
And Ray.
Before we leave, we're gonna leave off with some positive words. Just tell yourself that I will boss up mentally, I will boss up spiritually, I will boss up physically, I will boss up financially. Invest in yourself. It's your boy Ray.
And Ray.
And we're out.
Hey, get money all day, get money all